Can you spot a mistake? Trust me that fixing this small issue will make you a much better pool player, and I'm going to share with you my personal mindset to help you understand all important things. Based on my experience, I prepared for you 10 very common situations which we face over and over again, but very often we have huge problem to determine best possible positioning for the final ball on the table. Time to change it. Right now. Forever. For each case, I will show you several possible solutions and present their advantages and disadvantages. Sounds nice, right? So let's go. Let's start with this common situation where we have relatively easy object ball to play and need to make position for the 9 ball which is located on the foot spot. Very common, right? First obvious solution is to hit the cue ball very low with touch of right spin to land for the 9 ball on the right side of the table, but we need to control speed of this shot very carefully. In second option, we can guide the cue ball to the left side of the table using only touch of topspin and 1 or 2 rails, but this time we need to avoid scratch in the middle pocket. But if you don't feel very comfortable with previous options, then you can consider this one where we need to use a bit more speed and hit the cue ball with low right spin. After this hit, cue ball going around the 9 ball to the left side of the table, and this attempt is worth to consider due to very high speed control. But if you want to leave your opponent speechless, then use this option where we need to use maximum possible speed and hit the cue ball slightly above its center. Cue ball going along very interesting and original path to the right side of the table, but depending on table conditions, you should choose one of first 2 options to increase possible benefits. Moving forward, we need to see this very easy situation where many players may have big problem. We have slight angle towards bottom side of the table, and this is not a good idea when we try to leave the cue ball on the left side of the table without touching rails. So in this case, we can use first option where we need a lot of top left spin to, after contact with 3 rails, land for the 9 ball on the right side of the table. If you are not sure about this option, then we can use this where you need to hit the cue ball slightly below its center with bit of left spin to, after contact with 2 rails, land once again on the right side of the table. But none of these options are that good as this where we need to apply top right spin to the cue ball and use low speed to, after contact with 2 rails, leave it on the left side of the table. And this option is the best in my opinion, because we can very easily control speed of this shot. Another common situation where object ball is very close to the top right corner and cue ball in the center area of the table. 9 ball is located on the foot spot, and this is not a good way to just slow roll this ball to land for the 9 ball to the bottom left corner, because due to low speed and cut induced throw, we can very easily miss this ball. To increase confidence of this shot, we need to use more speed and hit the cue ball slightly above its center, which going down and after contact with bottom short rail lands on the right side of the table in pretty nice place. We can land in similar place for the 9 ball using 3 or 4 rails, but applying low left spin, but this time we need to be very careful to avoid possible scratch in the middle pockets. But if you want to use safest path, then we need to apply center right spin and once again use 3 or 4 rails, but this time we are leaving the cue ball on the other side of the table. This shot has more difficulty due to higher adjustment in aiming, so in this case, in my opinion, you should choose second option to increase benefit. Looking for another common shot, we face this situation where we need to make position for the 9 ball which is placed very close to the long rail, but it is impossible to pot it into the middle pocket. First option of positioning requires from us to apply only center ball and leave the cue ball very close to the long rail in the bottom half of the table, but we need to be very precise. We can also send the cue ball to the top half of the table by applying a bit of low right spin, but this time there is high chance of scratch in the middle pocket, so once again we need to be very precise. But there is last and best in my opinion option where we need to apply a lot of left spin and use 3 rails to make similar position for the 9 ball as before. This option is a bit more difficult because we use more side spin, but cue ball going along a very safe path, so this option is worth to consider. I am sure that you faced many times this situation where all balls are placed on the same straight line. We need to put object ball to one of these 2 corner pockets, and in first option we need to apply only a bit of low left spin and low speed to, after contact with long rail, land in perfect position for the 9 ball. But if you want to use more speed, then we can play similar shot, but this time transfer the cue ball to the other side of the table. We are using same spin but more speed, which makes our stroke more confident. But there is last very good option where we need to hit the cue ball with bit of topspin to, after contact with 3 rails, land for the 9 ball on the left side of the table again. This is difficult to decide which option is best, but in my opinion you should use first one to increase speed control. In sixth scenario, we face very uncomfortable shot where many players have difficulties to choose the best option. And this is not a good way to put object ball into the top right corner with simultaneous deep draw to land on the right side of the table using 1 rail. As you can see, despite the fact that I am hitting very low, it is very difficult to land in good place for the 9 ball. So in this case we can use first solution, which requires from us to put object ball into the top left corner, and after applying low right spin we can land on the left side of the table using 1 rail. This shot is much better than previous one, but requires from us high quality stroke. We can still put the object ball into the same pocket, but this time we need to apply only a bit of topspin and natural speed to make position for the 9 ball on the left side of the table again. And of course we can make position for the 9 ball to the right side of the table, but this time we need to put object ball into the right corner. Very important is to apply center ball, because then cue ball follows a very safe path and hit long rail before the middle pocket. And once again, it is difficult to choose best option, but I think that first one is really nice, despite deep draw which we need to apply to the cue ball. In the next scenario we face another interesting situation, where we need to put object ball which is close to the top right corner and make position for the 9 ball which is located close to the left long rail, right before the middle pocket. Because cue ball is located in the center area of the table, this is not good option to slow roll this ball using a lot of left spin to make position for the 9 ball to the bottom left corner pocket, because we can very easily lose position or miss the object ball. We need to use more speed, and in the first scenario we need to hit the cue ball with bit of left spin and medium speed to, after contact with two rails, land with very good position for the 9 ball. And actually I can see only one more option, where this time you need to apply bit of right spin and use free rails to land in similar place like before. Both shots are challenging due to different reasons, but in my opinion, in the first option we can control speed of the shot much better. We need to see this very interesting situation where we can actually pot object ball into the middle pocket, but we need to apply more speed to transfer the cue ball for the 9 ball, which is located in the bottom half of the table. And this is the reason which makes it impossible to pot this ball, because pocket will not accept shot with this speed from that angle. So in this case we need to pot 4 ball into the bottom left corner, and in first option we need to use left spin and low speed to leave the cue ball on the right side of the 9 ball. But we need to be very careful, because we can very easily scratch in the corner pocket. Second option requires from us to use less side spin, but more speed to, after contact with both long rails, land on the left side of the table. But if you don't feel these shots, then you can use last method, where we need to apply low right spin and guide the cue ball from the back to the left side of the table using 3 or 4 rails. This shot is most difficult, but in my opinion gives highest benefit, and I always like to choose this kind of positioning. And let's look at this situation where it seems very easy to make position for the 9 ball, but if you try to play deep and smooth draw shot, then cue ball going much to the side due to higher angle. The first solution which I can recommend is to hit the cue ball slightly below its center and use right long rail right before the middle pocket. But this makes some risk, because we can very easily scratch or apply unintended right spin, which guide the cue ball very high. Much better option is to hit the cue ball with top right spin and after contact with two rails close to the bottom left corner, land for the 9 ball in similar place like before. We are using a very safe path, and crucial will be speed control. But to avoid risk of scratch, you can use this option, where this time we need to apply low right spin and after contact with 2 or 3 rails, go for the 9 ball from behind. This is very safe option, but in my opinion you should choose second one, because we need to use low speed, which decreases difficulty of this attempt. To end this episode, we need to face this extremely common pocket hanger, where we need to make position for the 9 ball, which is located on the other side of the table. Cue ball is placed in the center point of the table, and please don't hit the cue ball using top spin and high speed with full contact with object ball. This kind of contact will cause the cue ball to lose its all speed after contact with rail. And to solve this problem, we need to use quarter ball contact and apply a bit of top spin to very easily transfer the cue ball to the right side of the table. But if you want to guide the cue ball to the left side of the table, then we need to use same contact, but this time apply left spin. You need to be very careful, because you can scratch in the bottom left corner, so this is good idea to use more spin and long rail to avoid this problem. Another not bad option is to hit with half ball contact and apply low left spin. Due to this hit, cue ball going to the right side of the table using free rails and very safe path. And actually, we have one more option where you need to apply bit of left spin and use long rail first to guide the cue ball to the right side of the table. This option is not bad, but it requires thin contact with object ball, because if we hit it too thick, then cue ball will stay in the top half of the table without position for the 9 ball. So in this case, in my opinion, you should choose first option where we are using very natural speed and quarter ball contact, because it is very predictable and we can very easily control speed of the cue ball. That was actually a small piece of common situations which we experience every time when we play pool, and I hope you enjoyed my selection and explanation of each shot. It will be awesome if you let me know in the comments what do you think about each of these shots and what would you do in these situations. Anyway, making these videos is an absolutely huge fun for me, and if you appreciate my work, then please consider leaving a thumbs up for me and hit the subscribe button to never miss my all new video productions. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next lesson. Take care.